Alma. I want to talk about Ella. I want to talk about Diane. I want to talk about Lee. And I want to talk about Hillary. Before I get to those names, I want to tell you a little bit about me. For the last 30 years, in 110 trials and in federal courts across the country, mostly in Virginia, I stood before judges and juries, and I spoke for those who could not speak, and many of them women. I spoke for those who were victims, for those who were afraid, for those who were forgotten, and for those who were ignored. I worked for the United States Department of Justice. I had the honor of working for 2 years with Justin. We actually had 2 trials together. And like Justin, I am the youngest of 4 children. I am the youngest of 4 Rossi boys. On November 29th, 1966, a Tuesday, 3:30 in the afternoon, a 10-year-old boy got off a bus, and he walked into his kitchen. And his mother, Alma, was sitting at the table. And he sat this little boy down, and he said, "Your dad died." My dad died of a heart attack. He was 61. He was my hero. Now, at that time, when I was 10 years old, I was the youngest. My mom did not have any parents. Her in-laws had passed away. Do I believe in strong women? Was I raised by a strong woman? You are damn right. Alma Girolami Rossi raised 4 raucous and unruly Rossi boys and taught me one thing: loyalty, hard work, integrity, and you can do anything in life. And I have. I almost dropped out of school in high school. I was a horrible student. After my dad died, the 4 Rossi boys focused on a lumber business to try to keep it afloat with my mother's spiritual support. And I devoted a lot in that lumber business. So much so, I didn't go to the library. I didn't read books. I skipped class. I almost flunked out of high school. And what am I doing today? I teach constitutional law at George Mason University. You can guarantee I'm going to be talking about this, the Equal Rights Amendment, this semester. I also teach trial advocacy at Harvard Law School. You see, my life is like Forrest Gump. A box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Who would have thought that 10-year-old boy sitting at that kitchen table would one day be a federal prosecutor for 30 years, about whom they did 2 documentaries about his opioid investigation, his trials. And he would also teach trial advocacy at Harvard Law School. Do I believe in the American dream for me? Yes. Do I believe in the American dream for strong women? You're darn right. Now, my mom wasn't college educated. She went to Middletown High School in Connecticut. She was a hairdresser for 12 years. In fact, she didn't want me to go to college. She wanted me to go into the business. That's the one part where we disagree. Now, she passed away in 1992, but something happened on October 25th of last year. And let me get to Hillary. In 2008, when Hillary lost the Iowa caucus, that was a Thursday, the next day, Gene Rossi got on a plane to New Hampshire and pounded the pavement for Hillary Clinton. I pounded the pavement, she won that primary. Barack Obama, great president, he obviously won. In 2012 to 2016, we did the same thing. I believe in strong women. Let's go back to October 25th of last year. The great Tim Kaine came to that same kitchen and stood by that same table and that same fireplace where my mom told me my dad died. And the saddest part about that is my brother Ted bought the house. We had a fundraiser. The saddest part about that is My mom passed away in '92 from cancer. Let's now go to Diane. Diane Rossi is one of the strong women who's my hero. She's in the back. I've been married to her for 31, it's 31, right, Diane? You know what? Our anniversary is May 18th. My mother was born on May 18th. She was married on May 18th, okay? Very humble marriage. My father worked, he worked too hard. My mother got married to my father, Ted, on a business trip in Buffalo with the Justice of the Peace. But she loved him so much. It didn't matter where they got married. My brother-in-law was married on that, and my twin nieces are also born on May 18th. It's a crazy day. But I think it's 31. Diane is my hero, and I'll tell you why. And I'm not just saying it because I'm before a woman's group. She has an incredible life story. She was a speech pathologist in the Jackson, Mississippi public schools. Okay, you figure out I'm from Connecticut, she's from Mississippi. Okay, we are totally different, but we got one thing in common. Are you ready? When I go to Mississippi and she comes to Connecticut, we both need interpreters. I am not joking. I am not joking. In the 1980s, Diane Rossi had the honor of working with two great governors of Virginia, Chuck Robb and Jerry Belias. And I had the honor, because before I started working for the Justice Department in 1989, I worked for a governor. I have gubernatorial experience, deep. From 1983 to 1989, I worked for Governor Bill O'Neill. Nobody even remembers who he is, but you remember this person, Ella. My first vote for governor was November 1978. Very proud of it. It was for Ella Grasso, the first female governor elected in her own right. And I was very proud of that. The entire state of Connecticut was proud of that. But she had cancer. On New Year's Eve, 1980, I remember watching Channel 3 in Hartford. She resigned. And Bill O'Neill took her job, and I worked for him as the Washington representative in D.C. I lobbied the House, I lobbied the Senate. Ralph talks about being fighters. I was a fighter. Because in the early 80s, Reagan was president, House was in kind of Democratic control, but really Republican because of the boll weevils, and the Senate was controlled by the Republicans. I had the honor and privilege of working on a task force on school leadership in the 1980s with a young, tall, charismatic, brilliant governor from the small state of Arkansas. I worked with Bill Clinton in 1986 on a task force on school leadership. Let's talk about education. And Justin brought up a good point. Education empowers everybody. It empowers single moms, women. And the statistics show in the next 10 years, 1 minute? In the next 10 years, universities are going to be majority women, law school especially. I've been a teacher for 20 years. I teach at Harvard Law School and George Mason. Last comment I want to make is healthcare. Repeal and replace. In 2013, after my daughter had survived at 18, a medical scare and almost died at 18, I survived a medical scare. My blood was repealed and replaced with high-dosage stem cell. And if you want a candidate with new blood, if you want a candidate with new blood, I have the newest blood of any candidate in the United States of America. That was the good repeal and replace. Let's talk about the bad. You know, if I lose this election, I'm going to be a stand-up comedian. Let's talk about the bad repeal and replace. My daughter was 18 in 2009. March 5th, she will turn 26. She is scared to death of what is happening on Capitol Hill. So Ralph mentions a fighter. I fought for 30 years in federal court. I will be a fighter on women's issues because women's issues are everyone's issues. Thank you.